Hey sweet friends, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Michaela Barnhart, and for those of you that are not new here, I have to say a huge thank you for coming back to this video, for sticking through me during my almost feels like maybe a year. I don't think it's actually been a year, but it's been a long time since I have filmed. So big thank you to those of you that are returning, but welcome if you are new here. Like I said, my name is Michaela Barnhart. I am hoping to start making more lifestyle content, motherhood, things of that nature. So I would love for you to stick around. For today's video though, it is an awesome one to start on because I'm going to spill my guts and give you guys a life update and just kind of let you know what's been going on and why I was MIA and just kind of fill you in because we've had a lot of changes come our way. So yeah, that's the plan for today's video. It is in the afternoon, so the sun is slowly creeping down. I'm set up in the best place that I can be for where we're at right now, so I'm just going to make the best of it. We're going to talk through everything. If this video ends up not being the best quality, I am sorry. But it's just kind of what I'm working with right now, so that's what we got to do. But either way, that's the plan for today's video, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so when I was thinking through like all the things I wanted to talk about in this video and catching you up on like what all actually, my hair looks rough, I'm sorry, what all I really need to talk about, I kind of tossed the idea back and forth between doing like categories in the video of different areas of our lives or just kind of chronologically walking you through what happened. Or I say what happened like something big bad, but it wasn't like that. But just kind of chronologically catching you up over the last like several months since I've been out. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I feel like it'll make the most sense if I just tell you in the order that we did things or things happened, as far as like being able to kind of keep track. So backing up to my very last YouTube video, if you didn't watch that one, by all means you can go back and watch it to kind of see what life was like at that point or before, because I definitely will reference that. But if you watched that video already, you know we were living in a new house. We had just moved not that long before that. This was after we'd had our son. We do have a son, Gatlin, who is now 19 months old, which is insane. He's over a year and a half old now. It's crazy. It makes me want to cry just think about it. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But anyways, we had had a few life changes leading up to that moment, but we were pretty settled in the house. Everything seemed to be going well. I was teaching 4th grade at the time, I think, is what I was doing then. So it just seemed like everything was going good. Shortly after that, though, things took a little turn, not for the worse, but we just decided to make some changes. So over, like, towards the end of the school year last year, when I was doing 4th grade, I got offered a position to stay at the same school, but I could either choose to stay in 4th grade in the classroom I was in, or I could move down to kindergarten. So I chose to move to kindergarten, which I loved. I loved the kinder babies. They're great. So yeah, when school started back in August, I started as a kindergarten teacher. And like I said, I loved it. Great. After a few months, we decided to sell our house though, which I'll kind of chat about because it was a pretty big decision for us since we had just bought the house and just moved in like just a few months later. We moved in April, I think. We moved in like the tail end of spring break that year, last year. So it was like probably right at the beginning of April, mid-April maybe. I don't remember exactly the date, but we moved in April and then we moved out at the beginning of November. So we really weren't there that long, just a few months. Spring and summer mostly, just right into fall. So it was very sudden. It was a big move for us to make, to decide to sell the house, but there were several reasons behind why we did it. So one biggest reason was the location. The location was not in a great, I don't want to say a great town, but it really wasn't. It was not a great town. It was not a place where we ever wanted our kids to go to school. We just did not like the school like district that was there. Growing up in the area that we live in, we have a lot of school districts around us that we play like in football and things like that. So you kind of get to know the other districts well growing up in the South, or at least in this area in the South, I assume. But that school district that we had moved into was kind of known to be like a just a bad school system. It had a pretty high percent of dropout rate, lots of like drug use, things like that going on, pretty heavy in that town. And that's part of the reason why we were able to move there and get such a steal on a house and land, because it's not a very highly sought after place. And so we were able to get what we wanted for cheap, or at least some of the things we wanted for cheap when we moved there. But because of that, it just didn't make sense for us to stay there long term. And we knew that up front. Like, obviously that it didn't just automatically change because we moved there. So we had known that, we had planned for that, and we knew that we would not be there for several years. Our plan was just to stay there for a couple years, see like if we were going to have another kid or whatever, kind of plan that out, get our lives kind of settled, save money, and then hopefully be able to move back to where we were previously, into the school district where I taught at, and kind of go from there. But that was the plan. And then obviously plans change, because we decided that we would sell, ultimately because of how far away that where we were living was from my parents' house, from his family's house, from where we both worked, where our kid, Gatlin, I say our kid, but where Gatlin spent most of his time, all that stuff. It was so far away, like 30-40 minutes away, one direction. So we were in the car for over an hour a day, which I know is common for a lot of people, especially if you work like in a city and you have to drive into the city for work or something. But for us, that was a big deal. And where we live, 30 or 40 minutes in the car, sorry, I have some congestion going on, but 30 or 40 minutes in the car with a kid, like a toddler who does not like to be in the car, is rough by itself. But where we live, it's a lot of nothing. Like, you're just passing fields, and then it'll be like miles and miles of nothing but trees on both sides of the road. So it's a very boring drive, very lonely. One of those drives that you wouldn't want to make at night, because there's not a lot of houses. Like, if you were to break down or something, there's not a lot of spot where you're going to get signal to call anybody. So it was just kind of weird. We didn't like living out there, so ultimately we decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead and sell. While we still feel like we can get out of it, we're going to just say, you know what, we made a mistake. It's okay. We're going to move on. We're going to sell it. So that's what we did in November. I can't remember the exact date, but like beginning of November, very beginning of November, we sold the house and moved here. And the selling process went so smoothly. The house went up on the market on a Saturday, that within 3 hours of being on the market, we had someone interested and schedule a viewing for that day. 3 hours later, they were at the house. And then 3 hours later in that evening, that night, they had put an offer in and we accepted it. So within one day, it went on the market and we went under contract, and everything stayed like perfectly fine throughout the whole process. So that was a miracle, a blessing for sure. But yeah, so we sold it. We moved here to my mom's house, which is where we're living now. Might look familiar because we lived here not that long ago before we moved into that place. But that was our house situation. We do have a house that we're supposed to close on this week, which I'll talk about in a minute, because that's kind of jumping ahead, but shouldn't have to be here too much longer. But we have been here since November, and today is March 25th. Sorry, I was looking through one day, I was like, what do you mean March 6th? But 6 o'clock is what time it is. I'm just going crazy. March 25th. So we've been here for several months, and it's been fine. But yeah, we do have a house we're going to close on soon. So yeah, that kind of wraps up at least that first part of it, coming into the end of last year. Alrighty, so now that we're caught up on like where we're living and everything, fast forward a few weeks into December. Actually, it was towards the end of December. I think it was December 22nd, maybe 21st. What are you growling at us here? He's laying back here on the bed with me. What is the problem? But anyways, towards the end of December, we found out some pretty big news that definitely rocked our world, changed it a lot in a good way. And I don't know, maybe you can guess what I'm thinking right now or what I'm about to say, but we found out that we are expecting. We are pregnant with a little baby boy. If you guys are watching this, I am going to do a video or a Instagram post as well right before I put this up, so or right after I put this up. So sorry, if you're watching this one day, by the time you're watching this, there'll probably be an Instagram post as well to announce it, but I am going to wait until this video is up. But yeah, so we are expecting a little baby boy. I have his little picture. Sorry, I'm trying to cover up my personal info. But there's a little baby. I don't know if you can really see it. It's our little baby boy. That was actually a while back. We are now almost 20 weeks. I'm 19 weeks and 4 days, I think, or 5 days. So we're really close to that halfway mark, which is insane. But yeah, that was a huge one. I know I said that so nonchalantly, but yes, we are expecting crazy times. I can't believe to say that out loud. Like, it just sounds so weird that we're gonna have another one and that we're having another baby boy. We do have a name picked already. I'm not gonna share that with you guys just yet. I probably am just gonna wait until he is here and do like a, sorry, my eye is itching, and do like a an announcement type post or something on Instagram with his name, his picture, you know, one of those cute things, kind of like what I did with Gatlin. I think I announced his name, Gatlin's name, before that, but I did do like a here, hello world kind of post, like he's here. So I'll probably do something similar to that, and that's when we'll announce his name. But it is a little boy. We are expecting he is due to be here in August, but we're kind of planning for late July, August. His due date is actually just 6 days after Gatlin's birthday. So they're going to be almost exactly 2 years apart when we have them, pretty much to the day. So that's kind of crazy to think about as well. It's even crazier to think about that it's the end of March right now, and in just a few months we're going to have another baby. That's kind of scary, which kind of brings me to my next point about talking about our new house that we are looking at. So when we moved out of our house, our plan was to live here at my mom's for at least a year, if not 2 years, pay off as much debt as we could, kind of just set ourselves up financially to be able to afford to live in the town that we wanted to be in. Because like I've already mentioned, one of the reasons we left this town was because it was cheaper to live somewhere else, which we learned obviously is not that great of a thing. But we were hoping to be able to save up and be able to get into the county or town, at least in the county. Would prefer to be in the city or town or whatever you want to call it that we grew up in, but at least in the county. So that was our original plan when we moved in November. But then in December, when we found out we were expecting, that kind of changed things, because obviously we did not want to bring a brand new baby here where we just have this space as our room, and then Gatlin has one little room as well, but his room doesn't have a closet or anything. It's very packed in there. There's just not a lot of room. We definitely could have made it work if we had to, but it's just kind of one of those things where if we didn't have to, then why would we? So we buckled down and started saving as much as we could. I pulled out some money from my 401k, and we were able to make it work to be able to get a house sooner. So we were supposed to close on that house this week. We were supposed to close last Friday, and that ended up falling through because of the turnaround time for the appraisal to be done on the house. Everything is fine with the house. There definitely is some like cosmetic things we're gonna do, but the turnaround time just didn't match up with when we wanted to close, so they moved closing to this week. The appraiser actually did come out today, gave us the go-ahead, said everything looks good, and has already turned in his report or whatever. So at this point, we're just waiting on them to give us the final date of what day this week we're going to close, and then that will be done. We'll be homeowners again. So that's going to be an exciting process. I do intend on having several videos go up because of that. Mostly because we are planning to kind of transform the house that we bought. The house that we bought is in a little like neighborhood, not a tight neighborhood. I think we have a little over 3 acres, so it's by no means a small neighborhood, but there's a lot of like those very traditional cookie cutter houses. I don't want to say traditional because it's not traditional. I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying to think of the best word, but a lot of the houses look exactly like the house next door. And so we're going to hopefully like transform the house inside and out eventually. So I'm going to try to do like a YouTube series of us like showing what it looked like beforehand, and then like as we go through the process of not just painting but putting flooring in, having to change out like kitchen cabinet or painting cabinets, changing out countertops, all the things. We already have new appliances to go in as well, so I'm going to try to show you guys all that, and then of course bring you along for moving and getting settled in a new house and all that fun stuff. But definitely videos to come there. But yeah, so that kind of wraps it up. Oh, wait, I forgot a huge thing. Alright, so I forgot a big thing. I forgot that I'm not teaching anymore. I didn't even think to tell you guys that, but yeah, I am no longer teaching. I taught until November 10th, I think was my last day at work. It was a Friday. I resigned from my teaching job, and right now I'm not sure if I'll ever go back to teaching, if I'm just done with that. I have no clue. And I'm not in a state of mind where I want to make that decision right now for myself, so we're just kind of putting the teaching thing on the back burner. I've been at home with Gallon, which has been really nice, especially in these first few months of pregnancy, because it's been kind of rough in first trimester. Now I'm feeling a lot more like myself. I do have like the crud, I guess, going on, like sinus issues and stuff, which I know are a common symptom of pregnancy, but it's also allergy season. Also, if you can't tell, I'm out of breath just talking too much because pregnant, and that's what happens. But yeah, so I don't teach anymore. I do have a new job I will be starting next week. It is a work from home position, so I'm pretty excited about that. So I'll take you guys along for that journey as well. But the last thing I want to do in today's video, and I need to find my cell phone, is answer some of you guys' questions. You guys asked me some questions over on Instagram, and just throughout my time being out, I got sent a ton of questions. Like, obviously want to know what was going on, if we were okay, but just some life update questions. So I'm going to try to answer some of those now. I've got to get them pulled up though. Okay, so I had several people actually ask how was teaching going, which I think I just answered that question for you because I'm not teaching anymore. So I had several people asking about that. I had one person ask also about like how was living in our house going, in our new house, which again is not something we're doing right now. I had someone ask, were we planning to have more kids? I just shared that we're pregnant, so obviously we are having one more. After this, I don't know. The answer's just kind of up in the air. I'm not sure. I think we're both open to the idea. We don't know when we would want to do that though, so honestly, I just don't know. That's all in God's plan, so we will accept whatever He gives us. Let's see. How is teaching going? I'm trying to find different questions. Someone asked me, let me look at my DMs because I think they asked in my DMs. Someone had asked me about something. Did we follow wake windows with Gal? And this is a very specific question, and very specific for like motherhood. So the answer that I can get, the answer that I can best give you is yes and no. In the beginning, not so much because I just didn't know a lot about it. Anyways, like I was saying, we had a lot of trouble with sleep with him in the first few months, which I think is pretty normal for like babies, but also for just first-time parents who don't know what to expect or how to deal with things like that. So I did a lot of research in those first few months trying to figure out how to help him sleep and like what products would help him sleep better and things like that. We tried a lot of things, and we ultimately did end up following wake windows because we needed something, and that worked. Now I will say that I kind of followed, I would Google like a schedule, what should a typical like 5-month-old schedule look like or whatever he was at that age, and we would follow that sort of, but I also was very open to just being him, like us being in tune with his body and letting him tell us when he was tired or hungry, and not following it like, oh, he's been awake for 5 hours, boom, he's got to be asleep right now. You know, we're in that like time now where he's between 5 and 6 hour wake windows at 19 months, and you know, we just kind of do what works for us. At this point, I definitely say we were a lot more lenient. I definitely just listen to his body every day. If he needs a nap after being awake for 4.5 hours, we take a nap. If he is still going at 6 hours, then we just wait and we take it at 6.5 hours or whatever. So we definitely followed them, but not to a T. So someone else asked, how was Gatlin? How was he doing? What kind of milestones had he hit? That kind of question, or that kind of thing. And so first, thank you so much for asking. A lot of people asked about him and like, was he doing okay and everything. Alright, so my camera battery died. I charged it for just a second and then I plugged it back in, So I'm gonna try to finish this quickly, but I was trying to say that someone had asked about like how Gatlin was doing, what milestones he had hit at this point, because I think when you guys saw him last, he wasn't walking or anything like that, and so he definitely has changed a lot. First, thank you so much for those of you who have asked about him. This person in particular asked like about the milestones, but a lot of you have asked just like how is he doing, was there something going on, and that's why I hadn't been on YouTube, just that kind of thing, wondering like what was going on with him. And so definitely thank you so much for those of you who asked. He is doing great now that you know why I wasn't on YouTube and just kind of like what was going on. Obviously it was nothing to do with him, specifically at least nothing to do with him, but we have made a lot of changes. I know there was a while where we were struggling with feeding, as far as like changing over to solid foods. Obviously we're champs at that now. He does not have any issues eating anything. He is a little bit of a picky eater, but it's more of like just kids his age kind of thing. Like if it's green, he's going to be a little more hesitant to try it, whatever. But other than that, he is great. He did have to have tubes put in his ears back in, I think it was January, because he had like chronic ear infections. He had one for over a month, and so they decided that since antibiotics, we went on I think 3 or 4 rounds of antibiotics and nothing cleared it up. So we ended up getting the tubes, but other than that, he's been great, and thank you so much for asking. Alright guys, so I think that wraps up my life update. Hopefully I hit everything and kind of explained it. I know it was kind of quick because obviously, like I said, it's the evening, camera battery's dying. I didn't have a lot of time to talk about it, but hopefully that kind of gets you guys up to speed on what's happened. Look for more videos to come as far as life, like just daily life, that kind of stuff, as well as things with the house like I was mentioning. But yeah. Other than that, you guys can always find me over on Instagram. I hope you guys enjoyed this little life update, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.